Hey guys, it's Delora Dabbles here, and we are doing day 6 through maybe 8. Maybe 8. I might be late on 8 because I love me some tarot books. Um, anyway, so number 6. Decks you are anticipating the release of this year. The number one deck I am hoping will be released this year is from Corazon Mexica Etsy shop, and her Instagram is Mi Corazon Mexica. And if you are not following her, you should be because she's working on an Aztec tarot. I showed off a Maya tarot and I like it. Maya is not my favorite Mesoamerican thing to study, like culture to study. I really, really like the Aztecs. I like their the Aztecs have such a fascinating rags to riches story that if you don't know the history of the Aztecs, you should really look them up. I mean, it's really quite fascinating. And I'm not going to get into it here. Some of the other decks that I'm anticipating the release of, one is actually a re-release. It was called Tarot of the Origins, and it is now being re-released as the Primordial Tarot. And it was rebranded and retitled and everything. It's an absolutely, it's a caveman tarot. I mean, sorry, that was really disgusting. I'm not editing that out either. Like, sinuses are a thing that exists, unfortunately. Let me go to my lists and make sure that I'm not forgetting any. So we have a new Kipper deck coming out, which I'm very, very excited about. It's by Alexander Musruck. Alexandre is like how it's spelled. Musruck, Musruck. I don't know if I'll have time to put that in the description box down below. But he also has a YouTube channel. A lot of the videos are in French, but whenever you can find some of his stuff in English, it is awesome. He's really good. So I'm glad he's coming out with a Kipper. This Kipper looks a bit more like a Lenormand. So I feel like if you use this next to or with a Lenormand deck, I don't know why you would, but just in case you would, like they kind of aesthetically kind of mix very well. The Erotic Fantasy Tarot, it's basically a sexy Rider-Waite clone. So that's really cool. We're getting a couple of new minis. The Everyday Witch and the Line Strider Tarot are coming out in minis, and I love me some minis. So let me just put that out there. Okay, the one that I'm really anticipating is the Occult Tarot by Travis McHenry. That's another one. And he's done a couple of other decks, but like I'm not really into like angels or demons or anything like that. So his other decks, I love the art, but I just the content isn't me. So I like that he's coming out with an occult tarot because that's something a little bit more for me. So that is day 6 in a nutshell. The decks I'm anticipating. 7, Stalker card of the year. Oh my God! So 6 of Cups for sure stalked me across a couple of different decks. The 6 of Cups and the 7 of Wands. So the 7 of Wands and the Rider-Waite is more of like the dude on the cliff, and there's all these sticks coming up at him. I always read that as fending off unseen enemies, and like I always have read it. And then whenever it kept popping up in my Deviant Moon tarot, in the Deviant Moon, it's a kid coming out of a forest because apparently this kid was like lost in the forest for like days and like he finally made it out. So it's kind of like, in the Deviant Moon tarot, it definitely evokes that like overcoming an obstacle and coming out on the other side of like a terrifying situation, and like kind of also like saving yourself is another kind of theme that I got from this 7 of Wands card in the Deviant Moon. I love the Deviant Moon for my own like psychological stuff, and this card really was, here we go. This card really is like probably one of my favorite stalker cards. It's my most recent stalker card. So I'd say this one has been stalking me more avidly more recently, whereas the 6 of Cups was like my first real stalker card, and has been kind of like like, it stalks me really hardcore for a while, the Six of Cups, and now it just pops up every now and then to remind me, like, hey, hey, hey. Now, the Six of Cups, I always read in my readings to myself, childhood trauma, or, you know, like, that there is some kind of, like, bad, negative, traumatic nostalgia going on. Very rarely has it popped up in a reading for me, and I felt nostalgia. A lot of times I'm like, oh, trauma. And, like, I like my kind of nuanced way of reading the Six of Cups. So, and it stalked me all the way until I started to read it that way. Once I started to read it that way and I took what it was saying seriously in that regard was when it really started to kind of slow down, slow its roll, so to speak, and stop stalking me quite so hard. This one is at the point where it's reminding me of its existence, and there hasn't really been a super crazy stalker card since this one has kind of backed off a little bit. And, like, it's kind of like that. Like it's like that sometimes. Sometimes you have a stalker card, sometimes you don't. Sometimes a stalker card is like a little bit more ethereal of a stalker card, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes your stalker card is just, you know, the card you've received the most, and sometimes the most is just twice. So for me this year, it was those two cards. Specifically, the one in this deck is more of a good representation of how I like to read the Seven of Wands. And again, once I kind of took that meaning into account, it was like, okay, and it stopped stalking me. I've noticed that whenever I figure a card out, it stops stalking me super harshly, right? Tarot books. Okay, favorite tarot books. I'm not even going to get them off of my shelf because um, that's just too much work. Tarot 101. Now, I did buy the Holistic Tarot by Bidabel Win this year, but I didn't even read through most of it. It's just so big, and, like, it's a good book. It's a good read. It's a good, thick read, and it's something that I really want to spend more time with. So that's probably going to be a 2020 book for me, honestly, even though it's been out for forever, and I do love that book. But this year, one of my favorite books was Tarot 101. Some of my favorite Lenormand books, one of them I just have the ebook for. I like the traditional German meanings for Lenormand. So even though I love the Lenormand Oracle Handbook, what is it? The complete Lenormand Oracle Handbook. I mean, it's kind of like you know, the book that you get for Lenormand. It's in every shop. It's got the kind of, you know, black with the cream. Anyway, this book, though, Lenormand, 36 Cards, An Introduction to the Petite Lenormand by Andy Boravshengra, if I'm saying that right. Probably one of the best. Like, it's very quick and dirty. The Complete Lenormand Oracle Handbook, I love. I don't like her meanings. They just don't jive with me. I kept, like, really fucking up with the Lenormand and not getting readings that made sense. And the minute I opened up Boravshengra's ebook and started reading those meanings, the meanings clicked. Because for me, in the Americanized meanings of the Lenormand, and it's not that they just don't jive with me. There's nothing wrong with reading in the American tradition or the German tradition. Just for me, it didn't jive because a lot of the Americanized versions, it's like, oh, and the foxes work and the bears work and all of these things are work and the tower is your workplace. Like it's very work centric, I guess, because as Americans we are worked to death. We are all minimum wage slaves unless we were lucky enough to not be. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I don't like to read the Lenormand that way. My life does not revolve around my work at all. Anyway, so the next book I would say that I really enjoyed has actually been, I saw it on my shelf. It's right here. I'm not quite finished with it. I even like put these delicious tabs on it. Yeah, I have a serious, like, I fucking love this book. It is probably one of my new like favorite books in general, not just favorite tarot books. Another really great tarot book simply because it's right here on my desk and I was also fishing for this one on the shelf. The Kabbalistic Tarot by Robert Wang. Oh my god, this one is so fantastic. I absolutely love it. Sorry, I'm like super thirsty. So those are definitely my tarot books of 2019. A book I'm looking forward to reading that I finally bought was The Kipper Cards by the card geek Tony Puel. She has a YouTube channel and everything. Look her up. I wish I had time to link all of this. I don't. I'm literally uploading this and then walking out the door to go catch my Greyhound bus to Mobile. Like, it's not, I just, maybe I'll be able to edit my description box once I get to Mobile, but I'm really trying to upload this and hopefully my cats won't fuck up my computer before it finishes uploading. And like, that's how I'm rolling right now. Yeah, so that's a book that I'm really looking forward to finally getting to read. We're going to go ahead and do day 9, Memorable Tarot Reading of 2019. I read on Orannum.com. It is like the campsite for psychics. So it's like it runs like a campsite, except it's a psychic site. But unlike campsites, psychics on this site cannot decline a request. Like the minute someone wants to take us into a private reading, we have to go with them. There's no opting out. There's no turning it off. As long as the customer is being charged, I have to stay there. Why is that an issue? Orannum is owned by the same people that own Live Jasmine. I did my research. I figured out it's one of the reasons why the trolls on Orannum are so sexual and so deviant. Like, and on Orannum, virtual rape is a thing. Men think it's very funny to harass you, pay for your time, and like, sorry, my lighting in here is like making me look like a ghost right now. Let me turn this off. I apologize that I didn't notice that sooner. Anyway, now I look super yellow and hard to see. I can't win today. That's fine. So yeah, like I don't particularly like working on Orannum very much. I think it's a really shitty site. If you are a woman at all, you will be sexually harassed on that site. Just a warning. I had a guy who was like, "Oh yeah, like show me your titties and like can you do this?" And then and like I'm like, "No, like maybe I should give you a relationship reading. I think like I read cards, honey. Like maybe, you know, you would benefit from a relationship advice reading." And I did a relationship advice reading for him that was like probably one of the best like spiritual personal like betterment readings I've ever given anyone. Like I was just like, and like I was actually really fucking pissed off at this dude. I was hoping that he would click off and go away and leave me alone. And instead he was like, "Okay, sure, let's do a reading." And whenever I finish the reading, because I don't want to divulge any like sensitive information about the reading, but he was like, "Oh my god, that was actually really cool. That was awesome. Like spot on. Thank you." And he left, and I was like, he thanked me. I turned a pervert into a querent. I can do anything. I'm powerful. Yeah, so that was fun. Most memorable reading of 2019. And that will conclude this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know it was a quick run through of days 6 through 9. And until next time, happy dabbling and bye-bye.